Hey, welcome back to another edition of Everything Football 62. I'm your host, Jonathan Big Tex Johnson, a.k.a. Uncle Tex, a.k.a. Professor Tex. Know it's been a little bit, but you guys already know if it ain't nothing really worthy talking about, I'm not going to talk too much about it and whatnot. The draft, same old rigmarole and whatnot. I may touch upon that later on, maybe, you know what I'm saying, after I had a few. I might talk about it a little bit, but for the most part, it's the same thing. They try, you know what I'm saying, the whole talk. The kid from out of Ohio State, and all of a sudden this other guy from BYU from out of nowhere, where they had basically had 1 year. Because really, subsequently, what they're basically telling you in college football nowadays, you don't have to do anything, have 1 year, and then go do pretty good in the combine, and you should be a first-round pick, especially at quarterback. Or somebody likes you and brags on you enough and whatnot. But that's another story. This is something else I'm going to talk about here, which kind of can tie into this, but for the most part, this story here that I'm about to talk about now, I actually talked about this or mentioned it back in November 25th, right? And it's funny how all this stuff comes full circle. But now let me get this straight. Tim Tebow wants to come back to the NFL and play tight end. That's funny. Going back to his days at the University of Florida, where he was king. And you had a host of other great players on those teams. Of course, Urban Meyer was his coach in college, who is now the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, as we know. I said this many times back then when the Gators was running things. Tebow, 3-time All-SEC first-team quarterback, 3-time All-American, 2-time first-team, Heisman Trophy winner, won the SEC. The list goes on. He's won every award that you could possibly pretty much win during that particular time. Tebow and those teams were loaded, and he was great. I would never take anything from his collegiate career. He was one of the best to do it at that level. He always looked like he was shot putting the ball as far as I was concerned. That's why I never paid attention to his own. That's why I didn't think he was just going to be much like some of them other quarterbacks that came up out of Nebraska and whatnot. They're just like, you don't really have that skill set to go to the next level to be a traditional NFL quarterback. Even really a dual threat quarterback, even though at that time that was really starting to come along. But he exemplified some of that. But part of a dual threat quarterback really is to be sort of an accurate passer, as well as when everything goes awry or doesn't have to go awry. You have that talent to be that special, run it with your feet and whatnot and all that. But of course, like I said, his arm was always suspect. Anybody that watched football would have known that. Everybody knew that, right? But again, this goes back to a reputation thing and something that has been built up for a certain type of image that had been built up for him to be able to do the things that he's done damn near over these past 10, 11, 12 years. Let me keep riding, right? So, it's all good when, Percy Harvin and Aaron Hernandez was catching those balls and making shit happen. I would say time and time again, he isn't an NFL quarterback. His damn arm was weak as spring water as far as I was concerned. But he had all of those other so-called intangibles. He is a good guy, God-fearing young man, no drinking, no chasing hoes, getting arrested and doing dumb shit like a lot of his teammates were doing. And getting away with a lot of stuff because obviously they were winning. But again, that's another story. So the Broncos take him in the 25th in the 2010 draft, which was just insane to me. But nonetheless, they did that. Josh McDaniel honestly thought that he was going to make this cat an NFL quarterback. Okay. So be it. John Elway should have known better than this. The weak AFC West, the Broncos clinched the playoff spot and would beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in OT. Tebow had a big game, in which was fine, especially since the Broncos D came to play, and the Steelers was pretty much took them lightly and was pretty cocky, and it got him. He got a chance. His 15 minutes of fame as far as the NFL is concerned. They had just changed the rules. You could no more longer, like let's say, if you go into overtime and then there's a big long pass for 60, 70 yards or whatever like that, and I can just line up the next play and get there, kick a field goal, and that's the end of the game. Everybody was going to have a possession. So Tim Tebow and the Broncos, he was the first. They had a walk-off. He can always put that in the Hall of Fame. I'm sure that's in the Hall of Fame or something. Like he was the first after that rule change. He was the first one. He had the Denver Broncos. He had a walk-off with Demarion Thomas going across the middle and taking it to the house and whatnot. And he had 300-yard passing and stuff like that. That was it. Because you knew they was going to meet, because they shouldn't have won that, but they won. And I said, well, it's going to stop. It's going to stop against the Pats. And it did, just like I said. If he'd have did the same thing again, I'd been like, okay, I'm going to take notice and see what happens. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay? So, and so after they played the Pats, it was all done, as well as it should have been as a quarterback in this league. That was pretty much it. That was his curtain call. His finest moment was against that of the Steelers, and then what he really was against the Pats, and what he had pretty much exemplified all throughout the season that year anyway. I always said, and I always said he should change positions and be a tight end. I was always saying that. I'm like, he's about as big as one. I said, well, add a couple more pounds and be a legitimate tight end and whatnot, since he's this, he's this guy that likes to, he's a team player. He's a leader. He's all these intangibles and everything like they say that he has and whatnot that they love to talk about, right? So that stuff came crashing down. So shit, he was just like I said, just about as big as a tight end, a great teammate and all that stuff. So what was the problem? This was the problem, and this is what nobody wants to call him on, and I'm gonna call it on him and whatnot, because all of these athletes sort of kind of have this and whatnot. But for some strange reason, when it comes to quarterbacks, a certain type of quarterback, they want to act like he does not have that, but he does. A great teammate that he was, like all these cats liked him and stuff. So what was the problem? Tebow has an ego the size of Cali and Texas combined together. Sprinkle that in with arrogance. But the skinny is, he's a good Christian boy, well-spoken, well-behaved, says all the right things. But underneath all of that is complete egotisticalism, arrogance, you name it. All of that's in there. Because all he had to do was switch positions. Do you know how many black quarterbacks that had to change positions when they came into the NFL with no fanfare? I'm not going to even, you know what? And I kept it that way. And then I got to thinking about how many offensive linemen come in that's played tackle all that and got switched to guard. How many guards switched to tackle? How many guys end up playing all three different positions on the line? Center, guard, tackle, because of injuries. You know what I'm saying? How many? This happens. This ends up happening. Or a guy that's a guy that's a corner and he's not whatever, they switch him to safety. Sometimes that does happen later on certain defensive back there, but sometimes it's just like he's a better safety than he is a corner. It happens. It happens all the time. So why does it have to be? I know the quarterback is a different type of position. Got it. Most difficult position to learn. Got it. But you got to have some type of skill set when you come over in there, and he never had that. Okay? So all he had to do was say, I want to contribute to a team as a tight end, fullback, H-back, special teams, like I said, which would be, give and take 6-7 years later, Tyson Hill from the Saints. Fan favorite and everything like that. He's a football, and you guys are a football fan like myself. I appreciate what Tyson Hill brings to what he brings. He's not, in my opinion, he's no real NFL quarterback. Sure, he can launch, throw a couple of balls here and there. You can get away with that. The way the league is, and you get away with that. But he's a football player in the core. He's played quarterback. He'll play running back. He'll play wide receiver. He'll play tight end. He's on the special teams. He does all of those things because technically he isn't really that guy. He isn't really that guy to play quarterback. And this is known. And also it's known for the fact that if you look at Tyson Hill and, saying that we saw handling the ball and stuff like that, he puts the ball on the ground a lot. And that's something nobody was talking about. But I'm like, as for a football player, like go back to Crash Jensen, used to play for the Miami Dolphins years ago. Go look him up. A lot of you old heads know what I'm talking about, right? That's all Tebow had to do. That is all he had to do. Like I said, I made a show about this. And all Tebow had to do, and this thing with his looks and all of that stuff that he's gotten over in Florida, right? And if he would switch to tight end and been like a Tyson Hill before Tyson Hill, right? Do you know how revered he would have been revered like that of a reverend? Get it? You know what I'm saying? But arrogance, ego, and pride is what made him not change position. He even got a chance to play for the fucking Mets. Well, the minor league Mets, the farm league and all that stuff to try to get you to the big league. Even I say, put down in the comment section for those who's watching this, did Tebow play high school baseball And the most important thing, did he play any college baseball? Because I don't recall that. I don't follow college baseball like that. I don't follow pro baseball like that. So I'm trying to figure out, did he play any type of baseball collegiately? I mean, I know Kyler Murray did. I know Bo Jackson did. I know Deion Sanders did. This dude didn't. Again, off of the image that has been crafted for him and that he got, that's been concocted for him, he's able to pull these things off. You know how many different guys that can run circles around him in the baseball field that didn't get a chance because he's going to bring some seats, bring some people in the seats? Crazy. Let me keep moving. So now, baseball, and you want to talk about privilege. Come on. I mean, 9 years later, now you want to play tight end. Now you come in there, you're saying, now you want to switch positions. You couldn't do that now that everything else has failed. Now you swallowed your pride. And at 33, when technically he's supposed to basically been in the league probably by now about 10, 11, right at 10, 11 years, around that time or something like that. A guy's looking at the other side because he's been in for a decade. He's been in SEC 22, 23 years old. He's 33 now, been in the league 10, 11 years. It's starting to, the oohs and ahs, the little dents and dings has started to, this is the twilight of a guy's career when he hits double digits, right? And whatnot, right? He ain't getting no more big contracts and all this other kind of stuff. Rare, right? Now he's coming 33 with his hat in hand. The last time you laced him up was 9 years ago. And to be perfectly honest with you, I really hope this shit tanks. Not because I wish bad on him, but just to show you that Tebow is as much as a diva and egotistical as a lot of different pro athletes. He just masked it behind his aw shucks Andy Griffin demeanor, which is cute, but it's phony. And I really can't stand people like that. And he's made a living doing that, being on the low, a raving, egotistical lunatic, but is hid behind his aw shucks, with the Lord and this and that. Nothing's going to, my Savior, Christ. All of that shit that he talks. And you know what I'm talking about, right? All of that. Just like what that show that Jack Black was in, Hollow something. I can't remember the name of it. But the girl was beautiful that he was talking about how he Shallow Hal. That was, I think, Shallow Hal. I think that was the name of it. The girl was gorgeous and beautiful, right? But when we see it on television and whatnot, and she's gorgeous and beautiful and stuff like that. But what he actually see, he's saying gorgeous and beautiful, but people that really saw her for what she is, she was disgustingly ugly inside. That is the way I look at Tebow. It's like he is that guy, but it's masked behind that of this all shook me, and he is parlayed off of that forever. How many other guys who didn't do shit in pro and still come back years later and be on, still have an inside track to try to still play on a Major League Baseball team and then come back 9 years after you didn't do anything. Now you want to talk about switch positions when you could have did that and still been in the league. And could have been, with your looks and all, could have taken it, would have been beloved. So I don't buy it. Like I said, he just shows me he's a diva and everything else that comes along with that. And now his last straw is trying to grab Urban Myers and get him to sit up there and play tight end because you know why? Nobody else is going to sit up there and even look at him and even entertain anything about Tim Tebow. Okay? You guys hit the smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're still trying to work on improving and whatnot. I need suggestions, leave them down in the box. And like I said, please leave down in the comments section, where did he play baseball for the University of Florida? Shit, did he even play for his high school? I mean, I know he was homeschooled, so he didn't go to school. He wouldn't play football, did all that other stuff. Everything that, again, I just want to know, screw the football stuff. I already know where that went. Did he actually even play baseball in college? All right? Like I tell you guys all the time, there is no GOAT, there's no greatest of all time as long as time's still going on. And like I tell you guys all the time, numbers don't lie and get emotional. People do. I'll holler at you later.